about a month and a half from I started to actively apply to when I land this job.
Lynn got hired in exactly 60 days, part two of her story in her own words coming up. This is the Get Hired Show. Today's episode, right and wrong resume formatting, and three little pointers to raise your resume response rates. So if you're ready to dive into the topic, give me some likes, give me some loves, and definitely click on the share button. I'm Jewel Bracey DeMaio, principal job search strategist and executive coach, helping 6 and 7-figure directors, VPs, and C-level leaders get hired in 90 days or less. Here's the bottom line. You have to take proactive steps in order to advance your career. And I know it's uncomfortable and I know it's scary. But guess what? So is everything worth having. Everything worth having is outside of your comfort zone. Everything worth having requires you to be something different than what you did before. Everything worth having requires you to learn something you didn't know about before. Everything worth having requires you to do something you didn't know about before. So act in your own best interest. Be, learn, and do something that you did not experience before right now. And once you do it, don't do it once. Keep on doing it until. What I don't want is for you to be smothered underneath of your own self-imposed limitations. Powerlessness is a decision, friends. Powerlessness is a decision. It's up to you to make a different decision. If you're working right now in a stadium where no one is clapping for you, move on to the right stadium. That's vital for personal and professional growth. Uncertainty about navigating the job market and reaching decision makers can be overwhelming. Instead of deciding that you're overwhelmed, take that moment to proactively seek guidance, professional guidance if you need to explore new avenues, new opportunities beyond what you originally thought. I don't want your self-perceived value to hinder your job search. So whether you fit into a specific niche, whether you can pivot into a new industry, all of these things are valid concerns. I get that. You can absolutely hold space and honor that. But after you hold that space, make a decision to move forward from a position of strength, not a position of fear. Identify and pursue opportunities that will fit with your diverse expertise. 100% of the time, please act in your own best interest. Resilience, determination, and doing it until can overcome every single roadblock you come up against in job search. Now, today we're talking about right and wrong resume formatting, three little pointers to raise your resume response rates. And there's a reason why I want to highlight the importance of this. The significance of proper resume formatting becomes even more critical given the extremely limited time that recruiters spend reviewing your resume. Now, here's the illustration that I want to draw for you. The recruiter is looking at your resume on his phone, and I don't care how much his phone costs, the phone is only but so big. Okay, so it's a small screen. Now, visualize that the recruiter is looking at your resume while in the car in the morning. It's rush hour. That's how little attention he's giving your resume. And I'll add on this layer. The recruiter is looking at your resume on the phone in the car and he's driving the car. Okay, that's what's happening. So that's how much attention your resume is getting on any given day. A cluttered or poorly structured document is not going to cut it, friends. By focusing on refining your resume formatting, you can enhance the readability and visual appeal of your resume, making it easier for recruiters to identify key information quickly. Now, who's ready to share their thoughts? You can drop a quick emoji in the comments to let me know you're here and let me know that you're engaged. The attention to detail that I'm talking about here showcases your professionalism and your attention to quality. It sets you apart from other candidates and it increases the number of callbacks coming into you from the recruiters and the hiring managers. So, on top of that, the impact of resume formatting extends beyond the aesthetics. It also influences how effectively your achievements and your qualifications are communicated to the employers. Clear, concise formatting ensures that your accomplishments are presented in a compelling manner, allowing recruiters to grasp the value that you bring to the table and increase their interest in learning more about you as a candidate. So, by investing time and effort into optimizing your resume layout and content, what you're doing is you're signaling to employers that you're committed to professionalism, you're committed to excellence, which can significantly boost your resume response rates and open doors to new opportunities. Ultimately, by prioritizing right resume formatting and implementing simple but effective strategies to enhance your resume, what you're doing is you're making yourself stand out in this competitive job market. You're increasing your number of calls back. You're raising the number of interviews that you land and ultimately increasing the number of times you hear an offer. Remember, your resume is a powerful tool that can shape how recruiters perceive your qualifications and your potential, making it essential to approach formatting with care and with attention to detail. So, how do you even start to think about resume formatting? First and foremost, please graduate from Microsoft Word templates. Please graduate from Microsoft Word templates. Incorporating storytelling elements into your resume makes a huge difference. So rather than listing responsibilities, rather than literally saying responsible for all over the place, which instantly sucks us into the Wayback Machine into 1982, present a narrative telling who you are, what you do, and the value that you bring. Those are the three pillars of your resume: who you are, what you do, and the value that you bring. And then support those three pillars with your achievements. What storytelling does is it adds a personal touch to your resume and it helps recruiters connect with your experiences on a deeper level. Challenge the idea of a static resume by adopting a dynamic approach. Regularly update your resume with new achievements, new skills, new experiences that reflect your ongoing growth and development. Treat your resume as a living document because your resume needs to evolve as you evolve along your career journey. Demonstrate your adaptability and your commitment to continuous improvement. So, what we're really talking about here is living out the things that are on your resume. Okay. Continuous improvement is one example. You don't just say that on your resume, demonstrate that. It's not just words for a resume. You actually need to put that into action. So when you say it on your resume, you're saying that you do that in the job. That's all well and good. What I'm saying to you is demonstrate that in your own career and in your own life. Demonstrate your commitment to continuous improvement. Don't let it just be a key word. Actually live it out. Once your resume is formatted, incorporating the changes that we're going to talk about, you may see the same success as John. He stepped into a COO position with a global organization. In fact, using the steps that we go through, John had multiple opportunities and offers in hand. Plus, there's Noelle. She landed her director level marketing role that gave her a $10,000 salary increase. What worked for her is the structure that we're talking about right now. And Noelle had come from a place of feeling desperate in the beginning because she had been caught up in a toxic work environment. But what I advised her to do is be selective about the industries that she wanted. And by the way, I know that that's counterintuitive. I know that the tendency is to want to cast a wide net for fear that you're going to miss out on opportunities. Here's my advice: don't cast a wide net and accept the reality that you are going to miss out on opportunities. But here's the thing: every opportunity on the internet is not for you. You're going to miss the ones that weren't for you. That's why I want you to concentrate your time and energy. So with Noelle, in our work together, we narrowed down the industries that she wanted. Be selective. And what I had her do was a deep dive into the companies that she was looking at and had her really think about how she could make a difference in each organization that she was targeting. And what we did was we weaved that into her resume narrative, into her LinkedIn profile in a way that supported her value, her worth, and what she knew she brought to the table. So her road to her new job was about 8 weeks from initial contact to her getting the offer letter. Then there's Patricia. Her whole process only took about 6 weeks. Now, before she and I did our work together, she had put out probably 150 resumes, only gotten a couple of phone interviews. Other than that, it was a ghost town. What I did was what we're talking about now: put her story together in a way she said she never would have done, so that employers immediately understood what she had accomplished in the past, plus what she could do in their organization going forward. Now, because of how her experience was framed, an employer found her and reached out to her on LinkedIn, and the job she got wasn't even from a published ad. It was a newly created role. She went through 5 interviews and ultimately got the offer and a generous salary boost. So let's get into this in a hands-on way so that you learn right and wrong resume formatting and 3 little pointers to raise your resume response rates. Then I want us to hear part 2 of Sheilin's story and the strategy that we used to get her hired in 60 days. And we're also going to make sure to take a look on the screen so that you understand what to implement on your resume that will actually work for you to get the calls you want, the interviews you need, and the offers that you deserve. So the first thing that we want to do is take a look at a before version of a resume, okay? And then a little further into the show, we'll do an after version. So we have a couple of problems here. Number one is we really don't even have any spectacular formatting when it comes to the name. Let me take a look and see even what size this is. So the name is in 14, same as the titles, okay? And the rest of this is in 11, but I can barely tell the difference in the font sizes. So the name is not looking particularly impressive. It's not necessarily capturing my attention. And then we have the title: Technology Media Relations Leader. That A is a mouthful, and B doesn't sound like a genuine job title. So what you have to do is, if you're going to claim who you are, then say it in a very clear, very definitive manner. Vice President of Marketing. If you want to make it a little bit longer, Vice President of Marketing for Fortune 500 companies. But Vice President of Marketing is crystal clear. Technology Media Relations Leader, I don't know what that means. All right. Then we have a career profile. Then we have career highlights. We have a lot going on. And by the way, friends, this is the first half of the page, and we're not even down to the experience yet. One of the problems with resume formatting is when you don't tell the recruiter what it is they need to know. And what they need to know is, where did this person work and when did they work there? They need to know that in the first few seconds. So when you spend a whole lot of time and space on a whole bunch of other things, that becomes a scenario in which that recruiter is quite frankly just going to say next and he's going to move on. Career profile, 15 plus years of experience. Let's stop right there. Wait a second. Your resume is supposed to be about a human being. Your resume is supposed to be about you. It's not about your work, it's about you. Where is the human being in this sentence? I would suggest to you that the human being is absent from this sentence because we're starting off with 15 years of experience. Here's another point. Your number of years of experience is not your claim to fame. Rather, your number of years of experience is a mere fact of time. You have 15 years of experience. Well, guess what? So do a whole lot of other people. And guess what? A whole lot more people than that have more experience than that. And some have 10 years of experience and they can still do the job. Your 15 years of experience, or whatever that number is for you, not going to be your claim to fame. Now, there was an attempt here with the strengths include technology, media, and analyst contacts worldwide. By the way, that's not a strength. Strategic and tactical communication plans development. Goodness gracious. There are some tongue twisters on here. There are some mouthfuls on here. So that's one. And then the other point is when we're talking about resume formatting, let's format this in a very eye-catching way. And usually what's eye-catching is when your expertise is set apart. It might be in columns. The bold is fine. It probably should be bulleted, because one of the problems with this formatting is the eyeball can get tired because all we're doing with our eyeball is we're going all the way across the page and all the way across the page and all the way across the page again. The eyeball gets tired. We're looking for something eye-catching, and that's what needs to be here. Let's take a look at the career highlights. Couple points with this. When you have two things, highlights and bullets, highlights could indicate to most readers that what you're about to highlight is going to be short and quick. Similarly, a bullet would tend to indicate the same thing. Think about what a bullet is. A bullet moves fast. It moves so fast it can kill you. So when you have a bullet on your resume, you're supposed to be giving a quick hit of information. This is a paragraph, friends. That's not a quick hit of information. That's a constructive criticism there. Let's talk about a couple of other things. When you're setting aside highlights, when you're setting apart highlights, we still want to know what you did and either when you did it, or what job title you held when you were doing it, or what employer you were with when you were doing it. That's fundamentally what we want to know. Let's look at this first one. Revamped a media relations and content marketing strategy. By the way, we're already out of context. Revamped what media relations and content marketing strategy? Why did it need to be revamped? We don't know. When things are out of context, it's jarring to the brain. It doesn't make sense because we don't know where or when this happened. But let's go on. Secured 44 media hits in 10 months, contributing to a 23% sales lead growth. So it's quite commendable that there are numbers here, and there are numbers throughout. I love that. I would love it significantly more if this bullet was about half the length and in context. That's the problem with career highlights. If you want to call something out and put it towards the top of your resume, then what you want to do when you're formatting that section is give it some context. Where did you work? When did you do it? What position were you holding at the time? Otherwise, quite frankly, none of these other facts really matter because they're just floating in the air. We have no idea when these things occurred. So we won't do all of these, but we'll take a look at another one. built and executed a high impact strategic communications plan in 2 weeks. Great. But what plan? When? Where? Why? We don't even know why this was needed. 2 weeks seems like a good time frame, I guess, except that we don't have anything to compare it to. How long does it take to build a communications plan? I think that he's saying 2 weeks because that's supposed to be an accelerated time frame, but we don't know. Does it normally take 90 days and he did it in 14? We literally have no idea. So when you're formatting your career highlights, bear these points in mind. And when you're putting together bullets, friends, 1 or 2 lines, remember, a bullet is supposed to move quick, quick, quick. Let's scroll down to the professional experience section. Now, take a look at this. You see these 2 different fonts? This is a problem with resume formatting. Friends, you should be using one font. We'll talk about that when we look at the after version of another resume. But look at this. This is Calibri. It's size 11. Let's go below that. Times New Roman, size 11. And I could have sworn that something on here was Times New Roman size 12, but I may be mistaken about that. Here's a point, friends. You're not mixing up fonts. Don't do that. Now, let's talk about some other formatting. Okay, this company, ZAD Blue Zone, Boston. Okay, that's great. December of 2022 to present. So this is a connected worker software company and the rest of what he's saying there. But look how this is all shoved together. There's no breathing room, friends. Your resume needs breathing room. So we have the name of the employer, a description of the employer, which probably should be italicized. We have the job title. So let's talk about something that's really missing here. It's a glaring omission, which is there's no scope of responsibility. And the scope of responsibility should be something that follows the presentation of that job title. So it really should be going here. Now, the scope of responsibility is important for a reason that I keep on talking about. Context, context, context. What you want to be doing with this scope of responsibility narrative is talk about your origin story. How did you come to be in this role in the first place? What happened? What were the objectives and the priorities that either were set out for you or that you set out? All of that needs to be in the scope of responsibility. And then what that does is it provides a framework for the achievements. So what you want to do before you get to the achievements is you want to captivate the reader with a high level overview. So your scope of responsibility can start with a strategic focus, outlining your strategic impact within the role, emphasizing how your actions align with broader organizational goals and objectives. It should convey a leadership narrative. So showcase your leadership capabilities by highlighting instances in which you assumed control, you led initiatives, you spearheaded transformative projects for the company. Describe here any innovative programs, processes, or strategies that you were overseeing, showcasing your ability to drive change and foster innovation. So remember a little bit earlier, we talked about not just slapping keywords onto the resume. Continuous improvement was the example. Live that out. So similarly, if you're going to call yourself a change agent, if you're going to say that one of your areas of expertise is change and transformation, if you're going to say one of your areas of expertise is innovation, then live that out. You have to talk about how you actually did that. You can't just list them as keywords on your resume. The scope of responsibility is also your opportunity to focus on raising operational efficiency, demonstrating excellence, talking about how you optimize processes, streamline workflows. And then what's also important is, you know, expressing a future vision. So in that narrative, provide a glimpse into the future vision that you hold for the organization or for your department. What that does is showcase your strategic foresight and your ability to drive sustainable growth and success. So let's bear these things in mind when we come to a completed resume, and we'll walk through why that one is formatted properly. Right now, let's have Sheilyn share part 2 of her success story. How did you find this process with this work that we did together?
Well, I feel like overall, this approach gets more responses, reactions from the potential employer. At the minimum, like people will respond or check my LinkedIn profile, or sometimes will connect on LinkedIn. Not necessarily saying everyone will have a conversation with like this CEO, but there's apparently more reactions or more response from the other side. And I think before that, I don't get much attention at all. Like I said, I didn't get much calls. I get very low response versus now. I would say I got about 10 to 20% response from all the jobs I posted. And but before that, it was like very, very low. I would say like 1 to 2%. So I would say it's not like you should expect to receive a reply from every single person you reached out. No, but it's a significant increase from what I used to receive. So.
And that aligns exactly with the data that we've seen, because the data that we've seen, and it's been pretty steady over the last several years, is that the response rate from, just doing things on your own the regular way using the job boards hovers around 1 or 2%. That's really where it is. And, when you're doing that, you can find a role, but it will literally take a year and a day. And I think it's important what you just highlighted for people. It's not that, you come on board with Jewel and it's magic and there's 100% response or 80 or 75. It's not that. But even when you go up to 10 to 20%, that's already 10 times higher than the 1 to 2%. So in your job search processes before, had you been used to, talking to a CEO or talking to a decision maker in the way that we did it with the steps that we went through?
Well, previously I tried maybe a couple of times when I saw a certain, usually for more smaller size company, but this is what I'm targeting anyway. I tried maybe a couple of times just reaching out to the CEO or the COO or whoever the hiring manager is. And of course, within those very limited time, it's probably like 3-4 times at most, that apparently I didn't get any response. So for a while when we first talked, I was a little bit doubtful that would it work, because apparently, given my experience, I felt like, how likely should I receive? But again, I think it's still we still need a certain number of positions. It's not like you will then apply for one job and got it. But then it's not like I apply for 200 jobs either. It's more like I felt like what you recommend to send one request a day, that I would say like maybe 5 to 10 jobs a week. That's about the right number. And that's about my number. I only look for those that I really think is the right fit for me, that I would be excited to do, versus before I would just like, for anything that I think there's a slight potential, whether it's higher or lower, I'll just post it. So, and then within that, I got the, as I mentioned, 10 to 20% response rate. And again, not all the response are great. There are also sometimes people will just say, yeah, if you apply, just recruiter will reach out to you, or even someone would say like, we can't deal with, like, we can't interview everyone, like that's like, we don't have time to do other things. And that also actually helped me to feel that maybe that's not the person I want to work with anyway, just from the way they handle that, the professionalism, etc. So and also there are times that I reach out to CEO, even though I was eliminated before by the recruiter, the CEO still will get back to say, talk to the recruiter. So it's not working all the time, but then it does increase the chance for it to work significantly.
Okay. Now, to clarify, so your whole time frame, you and I doing this work together, we started in October, you got the offer in December, so we'll call that 2 months. For this particular opportunity, you started talking to that CEO December 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that, and you got the offer before Christmas. Is that right?
Correct.
How long did we do the totality of our work together compared to the time frame from when you found out about this actual opportunity to getting the offer?
So I think we started sometime in October, and then the first maybe 2 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks are more the preparation part that we work together with the resume profiles, etc. So I think officially when I started to apply, that's more like beginning of November, I would say. And so it's like from beginning of November, and I saw this job around towards early to mid December, and then wrapped up in about a week. So about a month and a half from I started to actively apply to when I land this job.
So tell us about how it feels.
I think it's great. And I would say for any program, even though I mentioned I felt more personable, I felt like more likely it's going to work, there's still, it doesn't feel that sure until opportunities start to come. And I would say like in November, it's like that ramp up period. I still feel, okay, is it really going to work? Maybe the first few first few engagement didn't get any response, and didn't get many calls. And it's still a little bit not sure. But then I think as I see the profile look, the search result started to increase, and I started to get more LinkedIn requests from these different executive recruiters, and then started to get interviews. That's more like towards more end of November, that I felt, okay, so this is actually now getting on track, and this is I can see that it's actually starting to work together and started to see the result.
Good. There was a progression of activity, is what it sounds like, over the
Right.
course of not too much time, but we had to build things up. We had to prepare, get the materials ready, get them out there, and then build things up. So now you're VP of operations. Tell us about any differences in salary that you're experiencing now.
So this is so this position, the salary is, I would say, about 10% higher than what I used to make. And pretty happy with that, especially given the current economic situation and that I was laid off totally unexpected and unprepared. From there to now, I'm very happy with the result.
And you already started the job. You've been in there for a few days or a few days or a week by this point, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So how does that feel?
I think it's so far it's working fine. It's a little bit overwhelming because it's a lot, and they there's a lot of needs to put the whole operations into more of a standardized, structured way. It's right now it's more of an organic approach that they started before, and things are working, but not in the way to scale up to the next level. So I think I joined at the right time to trying to bring things together. So I do see a lot of opportunities in this. So looking forward to see the future.
And we'll wrap up with this. So, what would you say to people who are job searching now, who are right now where you used to be? What would you advise them?
Um, I would say really one, really understand and define who you are and what you're looking for. Don't just trying to just for the sake that I need a job and losing losing the thought that who you are and what you're really capable of doing. Really knowing your value, understand who you are and what you're looking for. Don't just take something below or under what you deserve just because you need a job now. Um, just take a little bit of time to find what you really should get and target what you want to do. And then I do think, of course, follow, if you're working with Jewel, then follow the approach. It's working, but it's not magic. You have to put your time and effort to that and to do the actual connection, do the actual interaction. The resume and profile will get you to that certain point, but if you don't reach out, if you don't have that interaction, it's still, you don't want the machine to decide your destination.
Shilin transformed her job search by initiating the first crucial step, the very same initial step I encourage you, friends, to take advantage of, the new job game plan. What we do is hold a free new job game plan with you, and you can get it by going to 90dayoffer.com/game plan. Your new job game plan is with me or the team. So here's what we're going to talk about: what's going on in your current job search situation now, why you're searching right now, what's put you out there into this job market, how the search is going right now, and how we may be able to help. It's important for us to be able to hear about your story and hear about your situation in order to recommend what will be helpful to you. 90dayoffer.com/game plan is the place to go. The new job game plan calls about 15 minutes. We'll answer all the questions you could possibly have thought of, plus probably ones that you didn't even think to ask. Now let's take a look at a finished resume and let's talk about the formatting here. So notice the use of color. Now, friends, I do not recommend that you have every color under the rainbow on your resume. That's not going to be, what we're doing. But one color and gray can look fine. So usually the blues, the grays, something along those lines turns out to look very executive and very professional. Okay. So, couple things. I can tell that this name is significantly larger than the other titles. It's 16 and everything else is 10.5. Big difference. We want to call attention to the name. We don't want there to barely be a difference. The executive profile, not really long. Oh, and look at how it begins. University Athletics Program Executive. That's who he is. There's a human being in that sentence. We have to say who he is first. Then we'll get to his 25 years of experience, okay? So what I want to showcase about the executive profile, nice and short. It's 4 lines. And then look at what we're doing with the expertise and think back to how different it was from the resume that we looked at before. The expertise is bulleted, 3 nice columns. The columns are all even. You know, there are not many things on a resume that need to be even. You don't have to have, for example, an even number of bullets. It doesn't have to be the same number of bullets for every job. That doesn't matter. But visually, if you're going to put something into columns, make sure that the number in each column is the same, whether you do 2 columns, whether you do 3 columns. If it's not the same, fix it. Take something out or put something in. But visually, you're doing this for the visuals. That's what we're talking about, resume formatting, right? So the content is not necessarily what we're talking about. But if you look at these are hard-hitting points. Athletic program administration and operations, multi-million-dollar budget management. These are all hard-hitting points. Fix it so that your columns are even. Now let's take a look at the experience section. So Philadelphia University, Philadelphia, PA, November 21 to present. Skip a line. Remember, I talked about allowing the resume to breathe, right? And then we have the job title, VP and Director of Intercollegiate Athletics. And guess what? The scope of responsibility paragraph. First sentence, join the university president's executive cabinet. So we talked about the origin story and the importance of having the origin story. How did you come to be in this organization in the first place? You joined, you were recruited, you were selected, you were tapped, you were designated, you were appointed, something. Say what that is. And then talk about the largest pillar within your scope of responsibility. In this case, he came in to strategically direct the administrative and financial functions of the $60 million athletics department, and then some other points. Okay. He defined the university's athletics for the 21st century. That's some future pacing. We talked about that. And build a brand that elevates the prominence of the university. Excellent. We talked about the number of staff. Nearly 50 full-time coaches lead 500 plus student athletes competing in 19 combined varsity programs. And then there's some more. Okay. So what we're doing is we're setting the context, and that is critically important. Now, in this particular case, there were actually a lot of achievements here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what we wanted to do was break those up a little bit. We're talking about formatting. Formatting is all about, you know, what can you do in order to catch a person's eye? So instead of having all 6 of these bullets just crammed together, we broke them up into sections. So the sections are administrative leadership, student athlete success, corporate partnerships, and civic engagement. We're still bulleting. And by the way, notice how those bullets are the same as the bullets up here. Notice how the bullets are the same color blue as the name, as the titles. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about making things attractive to the eye, okay? You don't want a bunch of different colors on here. One color, gray and black. That's it. So in order to break up the bullets, we have the different sections, and then we talk about whatever we're talking about in the bullets. And by the way, notice how each bullet is a line or 2. Bullets move fast. You can't have a fast-moving bullet and then weigh it down with 4 lines of text. Can't be a paragraph because that just defeats the purpose of putting it next to a bullet. So these are just some of the strategies that you want to use in resume formatting. Alrighty, friends, if you're ready to get professional help for your resume and your job search, get your new job game plan now at 90dayoffer.com/game plan. It's 15 minutes of us talking about your background story, what's going on in your job search right now, what you're thinking you'd like to do next. If you're not getting enough responses, we'll talk about that. If you're interviewing but not getting offers, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about whatever point in the job search you're in right now and what you feel like you need help with. The new job game plan is private and it's one on one. So share your story with me or a specialist on our team, and you'll get some thoughts and recommendations on what to do next so that you have specific, concrete steps going forward. On the next episode of the Get Hired Show, the top 10 things to do to have a killer job search day. Be sure to join us right here, Friday at noon Eastern Time.